5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Shapley, Mr. Ziegler, thank you for being here today. Blowing the whistle against a man as well connected as Hunter Biden is a truly courageous act, and I hope that all of my colleagues can appreciate that as well. Mr. Shapley, I'd like to start with a simple question. When did you start your career as an investigator with the IRS?
In July of 2009.
Thank you. And in what year were you promoted to a supervisory role?
In 2018.
So that's 14 years of service at the IRS, with 5 of those years in a senior leadership position, correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever, in your 14 years of experience, see an investigation be handled in the same manner as the one we're here to discuss today, the one into Hunter Biden's taxes?
I have not, no.
And when were you made supervisor of the investigation in Mr. Biden's Operation Sportsman?
In January of 2020.
By your estimate at that time, when did you initially believe that the evidence was sufficient to request physical search warrants in California, Arkansas, New York, and Washington, D.C.?
So Special Agent Ziegler drafted an affidavit in April or May, and that was when for the search warrant.
Of 2020?
Of 2020, yes, I'm sorry.
And it was a short time after that you began to suspect that career officials at DOJ were, quote, dragging their feet regarding the next steps in the investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And 2 months later, in June of 2020, you came to the belief, expressing as such in communications with the IRS CL leadership, that if normal procedures had been followed, that these search warrants would have already been executed. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Was this within the typical time frame for the self-imposed investigative pause that DOJ historically tends to implement in cases preceding elections?
It was not. The official Department of Justice Public Integrity stand down came on September 4th of 2020.
After the initial steps were inexplicably denied, prosecutors continued to decline to advance on promising leads. There were, for example, many problematic text messages and emails on the infamous laptop in August 2020. When were you informed by Assistant U.S. Attorney Wolf that the DOJ would not allow a physical search warrant on Hunter Biden?
So I don't recall the exact date. Do you?
And I don't think that that's in the confines of our testimony, but we can provide that information to the House Ways and Means Committee, a clarification to that, and then that can clarify that issue.
My understanding is that it was October 2020, but we appreciate your clarification of that. Did Assistant U.S. Secretary Wolf's decision not to execute a search warrant on Hunter Biden strike you as atypical, Mr. Shapley?
Generally, in any other investigation, if we have probable cause and we believe there's evidence in that location that could help prove our violations, then we would execute that search warrant.
So it was an unusual action.
Yes, Congresswoman.
Thank you. Is it fair to conclude that this pattern of odd, atypical, and sometimes bewildering actions taken by DOJ Tax and the District Attorney's Office happened over the course of the entire investigation and not just 1 or 2 occurrences?
That's correct, and it was the pattern that really drove me to, one of the things that drove me to come forward of that deviation from a normal investigative processes.
In your opinion, did these odd, atypical, and bewildering actions bolster or harm the investigation?
I believe they hurt the investigation.
To our chairman, I would say that there's something rotten in the state of Delaware, and that what has happened here with Hunter Biden would not have happened to other Americans. And this is totally unfair, and I think it's very important that we get to the bottom of this investigation and find out who has been obstructing this sense of justice. The American people demand justice, and this committee demands justice along with the other committees involved. And I thank you for this hearing. Thank our witnesses.
Gentlelady's time has expired. Chair now recognizes